In the last lecture, we implemented a function that will change the MAC address, but we were not able to check whether the MAC address has been successfully changed to the required MAC address that we specify over the terminal. So at this lecture, we are going to implement a function that will now actually check to see whether the MAC address we pass over the terminal has successfully been changed to that particular MAC address. So we are going to create a new function and call it function checkmark. So def, which is a keyword to create a function, check mark. So let me call it function checkmark, and I can come here and put a comment or a function to check MAC address, all right. So come up here, and then I can start coding the function. All right. So to check MAC address, remember MAC address of a particular interface. Remember, we run the system command sudo if config. Okay, and we know that we say we imported a module in the last lecture's module subprocess that will enable us check for system command. So we can also run subprocess.call sudo if config followed by the interface. But this command will only run the sudo if config, but it will not return the results to us. But in this case, we won't actually get the results of running the command. So subprocess.call will actually run the command quite well, but we are not going to get the output. So there is a particular function that runs system command and return the output. That is check output command. So I can call it subprocess, which is a module subprocess check output. Check output. That is the name of the function. And then we can now also we have to pass the argument as element of a list. So I'm going to pass it as sudo if config then followed by the interface. So we are just like running sudo if config eth0. Now this will now check the this will now run this system command and then return results. So we are going to create a variable now so that we can assign the result to that particular variable. So let me just run this, name this command, name this variable command result. So now after check output has returned with the output of running this sudo command sudo if config interface, it will now be assigned to this particular variable command result, and we can print it out. Let's print it out and see how it's going to look like. So sudo print command results, print command result. Okay, and then I can invoke the function now, change mark options, get argument. So get argument. Even before changing the mark, let me call it here. So I can just call it here check mark. So check mark. So I'm going to call it, but I need to specify interface. So interface, I'm going to pass interface here as a parameter. I'm going to define interface here as a parameter. So that whenever we invoke this function, then we have to pass parameter as argument. So here I have to pass parameter as argument. So I have to pass interface as an argument. So options, remember that option variable contains the interface and the MAC address within it. So I'm going to reference interface via the variable options. So options.interface. Okay, so I'm going to save it, and then I can now run this particular script and then see the output that I'm going to get. So let me run it. I'm going to enter my password. Okay, so I didn't enter the password correctly. All right, so as we can see, our command has run successfully, and we are able to get the result of running the system command sudo if config, and we can see the MAC address, which is the same as we have specified over the terminal. Okay, so this is how it looks like, but this output is not user friendly, so that means that we need to still work on our code to make the output look more nice. All right, so I'll just go back again, come to the lectures, come to the Sublime Text editor, and then see how I'm going to improve my code. So we have gotten this as command result, subprocess check output. We run this, and then we are able to get the output. So it's just like running the command over the terminal. So if I run sudo if config eth0, this is similar to running this command. Now this is the output. So we just want a process whereby we just want the output. We just want to get this particular MAC address here. Okay, so we just want to create a Python script. We want to add codes that will actually extract only this MAC address. All right, so to do so, we can make use of regular expression to now extract this for us. So, and to make use of regular expression, we have to import a module called RE. So I'll just come here and write import RE, import regular expression, and I can add a comment to use regular expression, all right, and then I can come over here, but before that we have to get the regular expression that will enable us extract this MAC address. Okay, a regular expression that we can use to extract this particular alphanumeric number, alphanumeric, which is the how MAC address looks like, right, which is hexadecimal. Okay, so let me to do that, let me launch my Firefox. I can run Firefox here and launch Firefox browser. Then I will go to a site called PyText, which is which will enable me be able to determine the regular expression that will now extract this MAC address out of this result that I have here on this on the terminal. Okay, so now I can click on this to get to this PyText site that will I can use to get the regular expression that I can use to extract the MAC address out of this result. Okay, so let me copy the whole of this result. I'll copy the whole of this result, and then I'm going to paste it here under my test string. I'll paste it here. Now I have to get the regular expression that I can use to determine the MAC address out of this result. All right, so to do so, we have what we call a regular expression cheat sheet that to help us determine a regular expression, any regular expression that will match what we want. Okay, and going through the cheat sheet, where I was able to determine that to get the MAC address, we are going to make use of this alphanumeric to get the MAC address, because MAC address come in hexadecimal, because we have numbers and we have letters, because this number base 16 hexadecimal. So from 10 is using A, and then we have 11 using B, 12 using C, up to F. Okay, up to F. Okay, so that is how hexadecimal is: A, B, C, D, E, up to 15, which is F. All right, so then which is in the form of hexadecimal. And so to extract this, we have to make use of this, because when we look at the pattern of the MAC address, because it starts with a what we call octet. We have two numbers, and then we have a semicolon, two numbers, semicolon. That either of this number can either be a number or it could be a digit. Okay, so and to match what we want, we are going to make use of this. So let me just copy it here, alphanumeric. So and then paste it. This will match. Okay, and then we paste it again. Now this looks like our MAC address, because that is, we have alphanumeric, a colon, alphanumeric, a colon. Okay, so when we have this up to 6 times, that's when we'll be able to determine our MAC address. So let me just copy this and then paste it. So I'll just copy this and then paste it. Okay, as we are going on, you can see that the MAC address is being marked. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this is what exactly matches our MAC address. So whenever you are looking for regular expression, then you can just come and make use of PyText, paste your test string here, then go through the regular expression cheat sheet, and then be able to determine the correct regular expression that will match what you want. So I'll just copy this. I'll copy it, and then I'll go back to my editor, and then I can make use of regular expression now to extract this out of the search result, to extract the MAC address. Okay, and I will say MAC result or MAC address equals to, then to do so I'm going to make use of a command from called search. I'm going to make use of a function called search from this module RE. Remember, we imported regular expression module, import RE. So there is a function called search from this module RE. Now this is what will search through the result returned by this command result variable, which will contain the result of running the command sudo ifconfig eth0. Now out of that, we will be able to make use of regular expression to now extract the MAC address. Okay, so and then I'm going to put R and then put this, and then I'm going to paste my regular expression and then put a comma followed by the string from where I want to extract this regular expression, the test string that we pasted on the PyText test string here. Okay, under the test string here. Okay, so now we have this, which is, and that is exactly the command result. Result. Okay, so MAC address. Now I can print it out and see. So I can come here and see, is it going to print out the MAC address for me? So I'll print MAC address. I'll save. Let's go and run the command and see how it's going to give us the. So sudo ifconfig mac0. Let me change this to 33. All right. No such file. Okay, sorry. I have to navigate to the directory. I'm not in the directory. So sudo cd desktop lectures, and then clear the terminal. Let's make sure I have the file within, and then now I can run the command. Mark changer here. Hit enter. Okay, so we are having an error. A type error, cannot use a string pattern on a byte-like object. Okay. Line number line number 44, and the line, okay, line number 7. This is where we are actually having the error. Research. Okay, command result is in byte, so we need to use casting to convert it to string, because it is in byte. Cannot use a string pattern on a byte-like object. So cannot use a string, because this regular expression expect to have a string, expect to search for this regular expression in a string, not in a byte like object. Okay, so I'll just come over here and then print use typecasting, and then change this to a string. Change this to a string. I will save it, and then go back again and try to run the, let me clear the terminal, and then run the command and then see what I'm going to get. All right, so it has worked successfully. We're able to get the MAC address here, but still we are having some other unnecessary things that we don't want to have on the screen as output. Okay, so that means we still need to work on our code further to make it look to get output that is user friendly. All right, so here now to do so is very simple. We can because what we are having here on the terminal, we remember we passed a using pytext, we passed the regular expression, and then we seem to have some other values within this test string that matches that regular expression. That is why we are having this and this, and then the other, and then the actual MAC address that we are looking for. So to get rid of this, we are going to make use of group, what we call group. So I'll just come here and then MAC address. So I can to remember we printed it out. Let me reprint it out, and then MAC address dot group 0. So now this will return only the first occurrence of within the test string where we have a test string that matches this what we are looking for, the first occurrence of it. And remember, if you look at through our on the pytext match result, this is the first occurrence of this, where we have this MAC address that matches this alphanumeric regular expression. Okay, now if we run the command, let's save it and then go over and run and see whether we are going to get what we are actually looking for. So I'll just come about the terminal here and then clear the terminal and then run the command and then see. Okay, as you can see, perfect, we're able to get only the MAC address. It has successfully changed to the MAC address that we pass over the terminal. So we can still work on our code, and but at this stage our code has been able to successfully meet our goal of getting the MAC address and interface over the terminal, change the MAC address, and then print out the MAC address as output. Okay, so now let's work on our code further to make it look more nicer, more user friendly. All right, so now we can make our code further. Let's see what we can do to it. Now we can decide to check what if we couldn't get the MAC address. So let's run let's have a command that will check to see whether we're able to read the actual MAC address. So we can say if MAC address, now this command will check to see does MAC address variable actually have a value. If it have a value, then we can ask it to now return MAC address dot group 0. That is the actual MAC address out of all the first occurrence of where we have regular expression that matches this regular expression. The first occurrence, which is the MAC address as we printed it out, and we have seen that. Okay, else if we couldn't read, if MAC address doesn't have a value, that means we are not able to read the MAC address. Then else just print an error message. So we want it to print an error message that it couldn't get the MAC address. So couldn't get the MAC address. So couldn't get the MAC address. Okay, so we have this. So okay, so couldn't get the MAC address, so this command will now run and then return the MAC address. Okay, so let's go and call this okay, we have already called it here. Option get argument, it will get the argument over the terminal, check MAC, and then check the current MAC address. So okay, so let's improve this also further. Let's print this out as the current MAC address is and then followed by check MAC options.interface, and it's going to return the MAC address. Okay, so let's have this here. So current MAC address is check MAC options.interface. We're going to check the MAC address and return it, and then we're going to print it out. And then now we have change MAC. It now changed the MAC address, and then we are going to print this one out again. Okay, so and then we're going to print this one out again. Let me copy it and then print the current MAC address. Let me add a comment. Print the current MAC address, and then we're also going to print it out again here. So print the new MAC address. So the current MAC, the new MAC address is check MAC options.interface, and then it's going to print it out for us. Okay, all right, so let's run it and see. Let's go to the terminal and then run it and see what we are able to get. Okay, let me change here to say 45. The current MAC address is 442266991133, and the new MAC address is 442266991145. Okay, so our code is working perfect. It's been able to get the MAC address over the terminal, change the MAC address, and then print out whether it has successfully changed the MAC address to what we want. So this is our code, and you can still improve it further to make it look nicer, more than what we have here. But at this stage, at the minimal level, we can say that our code has fulfilled its purpose. Get the MAC interface and the MAC address over the terminal, and then change the MAC address, print the current MAC address, change the MAC address, check the MAC address, and then print out the new MAC address, which is what we have. We did specify a new MAC address, and it has been able to change from the current MAC address to the new MAC address.